Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make a flip box that is divided inside and also has a glaze cover. So let's make an inventory of items that we're going to be using. Of course, we will be starting always with the straw board. And then we will also be making use of the black craft paper, the black craft paper. We will also be making use of scrapers. This is the 2-inch scraper. This is the 5-inch scraper. We will be making use of tape roll, measuring tape. We will be making use of the scissors. We will be making use of the steel roll for joining lines and measuring and for cutting. We'll be making use of pliers just um, to cut out the blade of the cutter once it's blunt or when it gets blunt. And this is, of course, the cutter knife. And lastly, the industrial adhesive. This is sold in smaller quantities and it's also available in cans like this 3 kg. This is the 3 kg all-purpose industrial adhesive. Okay, I forgot to mention something. We would be making use also of a card called FBB. This is an FBB and this is 400 grams thickness. It will be used to subdivide the box later on. Okay, and also we'll be making use of the transparent acetate paper, or also known as the spiral bind film. You can find this in any bookshop around you. And with that, I think we have listed all the materials that we'll be using. So let's get to work making the box. The first thing to do is to determine the length and breadth of the box. The length and breadth of the box that I intend to create is going to be it's going to be 10 inches by 10 inches by 4 inches. I'm making this 3 inches. That means 10 inches length, 10 inches breadth, and 3 inches height. So in that order. So the box is going to look something like this. Like this. Okay. So this to this point will be 10 inches. This to this point will be 10 inches. This to this point will be 3 inches. This is what is meant by 10 by 10 by 3 inches. Okay. So moving along, let's begin to draft out the box. Because it is a flip box, that means it's going to have a cover that looks like this. This is what a flip box usually looks like, with a base sitting on the cover. This is not what we're making, but this is what we're making. Is going to be like this. Is going to be a bigger size than this. This is 7.5 by 2.5, so it doesn't fit into what we want to use it for. Okay. this is a sample. This is a sample of what I was referring to. This is what a flip box usually looks like. The flip itself, this one is 4 inches by 7.5 by 1 inch. So this flap, the new flap we want to make, is going to be 10 instead of 4. That would be 10 by 10 instead of 4 by 7. And this height is going to be 3 inches instead of 1.25 that this one is. And then the actual box that will sit on this flap, this is the empty one. Okay, so what we're making will be sitting on this flap like this, and this particular one is going to be 10 by 10 also. So we will manipulate the measurement of the outer cover so that we can be able to have this overlap of the box. So let's get to work. So to get that, since this will be the dimension of the actual base sitting, then the flip itself will be 10.5 by 10.5. Okay, so that means we're going to make the flip cover first. So let's get to making the flip cover. So we're going to measure 10 inches. 10.5 because it's the cover. 10.5. And we do that making sure that our tape measure is hooked to the edge like this. You can see it's aligned. If you're using a ruler, if you're using a steel rule, it's the same thing. You would place your hand here just to make sure it's aligned to the edge so that you can get accurate measurements. So when you do that, you see that I have made points here and here along the paper, along the strap rather. Then I will be joining together. This is a 20 inches steel roll. You can use a longer one to get effective. To be able to get longer lines. Excuse me, I was trying to get a longer one. This is the 24 inches. This is 20 inches. My steel rolls are stained because I've been using them for quite a long time, for at least 3 years now. So, pardon the stains. Okay, so having done that, I have drawn 10.5, a line of 10.5 from this edge to this edge, and I will be making a cut. Okay. The tool to use here is the cutting knife, and I will just cut gently over it. Okay. Cut gently over it. Right, if you are watching this video on YouTube, I believe that you probably stumbled on it, and it is not appropriate because you will not be learning the backgrounds behind box making. So if you are interested, I'm going to be dropping a link in this video in the description. You will use that link to access the Telegram group where all the videos arranged in the right order are particularly placed. If you are interested in joining that box making class, you can use the link to access it. It costs at the moment, it's supposed to be 45,000 naira, but I am offering a promo at the moment, and if you click the link, you will find the discounted price already on it. Depending on the time you click, the price may have changed because I wouldn't know when you will be clicking the link. However, there will always be a discount on it when you click the link. It may not exactly be the amount I call at the moment, but once you click the link using this video, you are going to be using the discounted link. So good luck accessing the class. As soon as you make payment, the the link to the Telegram group will be brought to you, and then you click and access, and you find all the videos that are needed to get the training, and each of them will be arranged for you. Okay, so let's return to what we were doing. We have caught 10.5, so we need to cut another 10.5. We need to mark another 10.5. And why are we doing this? Remember that the flip box has three parts. This is going to be one part, then this is going to be the height, then this will contain the length and breadth. So you see, length and breadth will be 2. That means I'm going to cut 10.5 by 10.5 twice, then I'm going to cut 3 by 10.5 once. That is what makes this flip that we are going to be making. So let's get that done. So this is the first 10.5. And this is the second 10.5. Okay, the next is supposed to be 3 inches, so I will have to check this and reduce it to 3 inches. Okay, make 2 points and join them together. Okay. Alright, so this is what we need to make the flip. Alright, so the next thing to do is to determine what paper will be enough at the back to cover this length. So if we arrange it and we extend the tape measure over it, we have 24 inches and by 10.5. So I need an excess of 1 inch at both ends, so that will be 26 inches for the paper, an excess of 1 inch by the side, 2 inches by the side, and that will be 12.5. So the right paper needed to make this will be 10.5. But remember, we said that the cover is going to have a glaze see-through on it. So I will have to insert the see-through first before covering the back of the paper. So first I'm going to make a hole in this. Then I am going to arrange this this straw board rather on the paper by joining these together temporarily. Then when I do that, I can be able to also replicate the hole on the paper before adding the acetate, then before adding the paper. This may not be easily understood, but as you watch, you will understand why I had to do it that way, because I need to conceal the way I inserted the acetate. So just follow through as we work together. So first I'm going to be temporarily joining this together using just a black strip of paper. And a small strip of straw board to apply the adhesive. First, because of how adhesive works, you may not be using this particular adhesive. There may be other adhesives available, but I advise please do not use white glue. If you are based in Nigeria, I'm talking about glues like Top Bond, Vico Bond, and all of those. the wet paper, and sincerely, personally, I have not been able to successfully use them to make boxes. I don't enjoy it. They always create bubbles. So if you are going to be using industrial adhesive, just make sure that you apply the adhesive to both sides for it to be strong. And if you are using paste glue such as the UHU gum, yeah, that works well. I think for that you only need to apply to one side, but I do not use the UHU adhesive because it's expensive, and because I make boxes on a large scale, it's better to use something that is strong and still cost effective. So that's why I make use of the industrial adhesive as my gluing option. So just use what works for you and what is available at your end. Okay, so I'm going to be leaving a little space for allowance for um, the cover to be able to flip. You will notice that space here between the ends of the box, the covers. So leaving a little space and then putting this over it. Okay. I think it's better to do it the other way around so that I can be able to see the alignment. Okay, permit me to increase the width of the adhesive I placed on it. Okay, just enough. Alright, so I'm placing this first and this next. Okay, so I had to turn it over so I can see the allowance and the alignment of the straw buds to each other. Next, I will be trimming these off. Okay, and then I will apply some pressure using a piece of cloth to create firmness and a stronger bond between the paper and the straw bud. Next, I will be joining the base, the lower part of it, to it. So that will also require a strip of paper, and you remember the procedure is to apply adhesive to both surfaces that will be joined together. So apply adhesive to the paper, okay. And like I always say, when you have applied adhesive, always try to scrape off the surface of the straw bud to avoid the adhesive staining the paper. Okay, then apply adhesive, just a little line, the same here. Okay, and then place this down and place this over it. Okay, and put this there. Good. Here we are. Okay, and we're good to go. We now have a 10.5 by 10.5 flip cover. Okay, so having done this, the next thing is to, of course, just pick any side, whichever one will be the top, and create a hole that the acetate will sit. and I have decided to give offsets of my ruler width at both ends. So I'm just going to use the ruler width. Okay. Okay. And ruler width from here. Good. And I have a square. And then I also have to ensure that the acetate is as wide as that. Unfortunately, the acetate I have is not as wide as this hole, so I will have to decrease the distance inward just a little, like 0.5. Okay, and then I place the acetate over it again, and okay, this is just enough. So I'm going to be cutting out this hole using the lines as a guide. You have to be careful using your cutter. Sometimes it could veer off. Okay, joining just the edge together here, joining this together, and then gently pushing it out. Okay, if there's any resistance, just go over that part again with the cutter knife. Okay, right, this is resisting, means the cut wasn't deep enough. And look, this is exactly what we needed, right? So the next will be to now cut out the length of the paper that will sit over this. Then we will now also create the loophole where this will be. Okay, in order to do that correctly, we are going to cut out the required paper. Remember the measurement we took earlier? We said when we took a measurement of this, sorry about that, I tumbled my gum over. Okay, I had to pick that up. Okay, just some excesses that poured on the floor. I intentionally will not edit this out of the class, just to let you know that yes, it's natural to have some accidents or make some mistakes while working, but it's fine. It's part of the job. Okay, right. So here now we're going to measure the length of this. Again, it's 24.25 inches, and the width is still 10.5. So we need 1 inch excess here, 1 inch excess at the back. So that will be 24.25 plus 2.0. That will be 26.25. Then left and right, it's 10.5. So let's add 2 inches also. That will be 2.0, which is 12.5. 12.5. So I am supposed to cut a paper size of 12.5 by 26.25. So it's going to be 26.25 long and 12.5 wide. So put this aside and make the cut on the paper. Okay, so first I'm measuring the 14 inches. This little off cut is 14.5. So I'm just going to use the ruler to measure 14. So we measure 12.5. That's the required measurement. So I'm aligning the ruler to the edge of the paper and I'm marking 12.5 along it. Just do a considerable distance that the ruler can cover and join them together. Join them together. Doing the same again just to extend it. 12.5. Then join them together. Good. Having done that, the next thing to do is to cut with the scissors. Yes, you can also cut with you can use your cutting knife, but I prefer to use scissors because of the resistance the paper is given. Okay, and don't be afraid, just cut along the line. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Cut carefully along the line. That's what is important. Just cut carefully along the line. Okay, so I have something that is 12.5 inches wide, but I also need 26 inches length. So carefully mark 26 inches. Not forgetting that the edge of the paper is what I am attaching this hook to. Okay, and then stretching it over the paper and marking 26 inches. So having done that, you can now cut the excess away. Right, so this is what we need and this is what we have. So putting the straw board over it, you can see where the excess is now falling, right? There's 1 inch excess on the side, 1 inch excess at the edge. This is necessary for folding backwards so that you can hide the edge of the straw board. It doesn't look rough. So I also had to do this so that I can be able to draw a diagram, just trace the extent of this here, tracing the extent of this here. Okay, so having done that, we can now apply adhesive to the entire part and place this back carefully so that we can create the edge of it. Okay, so another way that we can do this is to fold this inward and then put the acetate inside, then use the paper that we'll be using to cover inside to measure it. So I think I would prefer that because this one will usually make the acetate look exposed. So let's try this. There is a previous video titled how to make small luxury boxes. it's related to this, and I used the method that I was going to use before in that video. So you can search for on my YouTube channel how to make luxury boxes, small luxury box. You will find that method there. So here I'm going to use the other method so that you can be able to learn the both. So I will not attach this. I will not use this method. I would just attach it, then cut it inward and use the inner cover to attach the acetate. So just watch as I do that. So first I'm going to apply adhesive to all the exposed parts of the straw board. First, I will apply on the inner part. Then I will flip it over and apply on the this is the outer part that I needed. This is the outer part, so there's no need to apply on the other side. Just make sure that everywhere is covered with it. This is the outer part that I needed to apply the adhesive on, because this is the part that will be sitting above it. Okay, then you can put this aside and bring in a straw board as your base before placing the paper on it. And when you have done that, you will then use a bigger scraper or a bigger piece of straw board to apply adhesive over the surface of the craft paper. The reason why I put a straw board underneath is so that it will not stain the cotton mat underneath. Okay, and you also have to be careful with the craft paper because it is curly at the moment. Okay, when you have applied a little, scrape over the excess gum on the straw board so that it doesn't mess up the craft paper. Then bring it back and apply over the remaining parts, making sure that no space is left. No space is left. Scrape over it again, all the excesses coming up. Okay, the reason is so that you can avoid things like this. You can see them, they already, adhesive is sneaky, so it gets to the back very easily, and that will stain your output. So I'm applying a little more gum to prevent any air bubbles in my joining. I'm going to put that away and scrape over this again to have a gum-free surface. And then I will bring this back now and place this carefully over it, making sure that I use the hole as my guide. The hole will be my guide so that I can have equal placement on both sides, equal excesses left on both sides. Okay, having done that, we're good to go. Okay, so you we'll have to fold and rub and fold and rub so that you can get even spread of the paper. Again, making use of the towel or the piece of cloth you have to scrub over it. This allows the paper to spread evenly and also create a stronger bond between both the two surfaces that are being joined together. Okay. Move this again and scrub over it. Okay. Having done that, I will now cut a piece of straw board and apply just to the edges so that I can fold this excess inward. Okay. Okay, just applying carefully all around. It doesn't mean if it's bigger than what you wanted, it's all going to be covered anyways. So trimming now with the scissors at the edge here and at the edge here, and then closing it over tightly. Ensure that it's closed over tightly and there's no excess by the edge. Don't let it slack. Then go over it with a piece of cloth, or you can go over it with the edge of the scissors, just applying pressure over it. Apply some pressure to get a firm grip. Apply some pressure. Okay, and put this here, cut this off here, and do the same. Okay, going over it with the scissors and apply some pressure. Go over it with scissors, apply some pressure. Good. Now we have these guys here. We trim them, turn the other end, also trim and trim. Okay, then we would want to also flip this over, but you see that this is a new surface. It has no gum on it, so we'd have to apply adhesive. The rule for getting strong bond while using adhesive is that you make sure that both surfaces have the gum on it. That's what creates a lasting bond. Otherwise, it will just be temporary and it will open later, which is not good for you, especially if you made the box for another person. Okay, so pulling this in. Okay, and going over with the scissors. Right, look at what we have now. This is what it looks like. You see that when color comes in, some beauty begins to come in. So how do we fold? How do we carve out this hole? I suspect that you must have thought about it already. So it's just to create another hole inside, but leaving an allowance between the edge of the straw board and the paper you are cutting. This is just to be able to create an infold inside to cover, the edge, the inner edge of the straw board. Okay, and then you cut at angles here. Cut at angles. Cut at angles. Cut at angles. And cut at angles. This allows you to be able to detach each one to fold backwards. Okay, and don't forget, this surface is a new surface. There's no adhesive on it, so you have to apply adhesive all around again, all around, such that you can now pull this cover over it. Okay, and you do the same to all the sides. Okay, pull this inward. Right, having done that, you see we have already created, a see-through hole, and the see-through hole is neat. You can't find any straw board edge showing inside. Right, so that means that the see-through is going to be applied inside the box. Okay, but before we do that, we are going to cut a strip of paper that we will use to cover this place and then mark out the see-through hole, so that after placing the see-through, we can now place the cover on it and still have the hole. You get that? If we put the see-through before putting the cover, we will have difficulty of cutting out the hole conveniently. So that's why we have to put the paper first. Okay, this won't be enough, so I will have to just take measurement of what I need. I just want the paper to stop somewhere around here. That's 12 inches by 10.5. So let's cut 12 inches by 12.5. By 10.5. So 10.5, 10.5, marking 10.5, keeping the ruler close to the edge. Don't forget, let the ruler and the edge be the same. Okay, cutting out the excess, and 12 inches, 12 inches, 12 inches, also cutting away the excess. Good. Now when this is ready, I'm going to place this over it. Okay, and you can see that this now has an alignment, so I am going to cut this out, just this part. Okay, so that means that this surface does not need adhesive, so I'm just going to apply adhesive all around, but I'm going to avoid all of this place because it's not needed. Okay, right, put this, I'm going to just place this over here in the middle since it's not needed, and then just apply along the edge outside that line. outside the line, outside the line, outside the line, outside the line. Okay, yes, we have what's needed, and now we can cut away this part following the line that we have earlier marked. And don't forget to scrape off excess gum so that it doesn't stain the back of your work surface. And I'm cutting this out too. Okay, careful not to tear your paper. Picking this. Good. So having done that, I have been able to create, right, the see-through cover that will be inside. Then I will pick the straw board again and apply adhesive along the edge so that what I'm bringing in can bond easily. Okay, it goes all the way to the edge, all the way to the edge, all the way to the edge. Cutting a new piece of straw, but the old one has become too soft and it's no longer doing its job. Okay, so I'm just calling to mind an omission that I made when listing out the instruments to use. I forgot to mention that we are going to add a ribbon to the edge. You will notice that this, as I showed earlier, has ribbons attached, and this is the point where we attach the ribbon. We just need a 10-inch measurement, so this is already 10.5, so it's easy to just use the side of the breadth of the flip itself to cut out the ribbon. This is a full ribbon, and all I need is just two pieces and measuring 10.5. So I'm going to attach one here, okay, and attach the other at the end down there. So first I will apply adhesive, just a little, and place this there. Okay, then apply adhesive again over it so that the paper coming on it can also hold down the ribbon. And I'll do the same over here, just a line for the ribbon to sit on, and we can stretch this inward a bit since there is no hole there, and cover it up with adhesive. Good. So having done that, now we can bring in the wrapper we cut to cover this place and place it carefully over it. Okay, just walk carefully. Good. And having done that, we can now go over with the piece of cloth and apply pressure. Apply pressure. Ooh, we forgot to add the acetate. That is not good. Okay, the good thing is you can always remove the paper just after you add it, before it solidifies. So right, thank God we remembered on time. Okay, all right, put this away and put the acetate paper. Just taking note of the right size, so I'm going to be cutting along these points. I'm just going to look for that place I marked with my fingernail and cut out the excess. Okay, so having done that, now I can now put adhesive along the edge. Careful that there is not much excess outside it, so don't let the adhesive show beyond that line. Just a very light, tiny strip, less than 0.5 along the edge. Then you bring back the form and check upside down first that it is the correct way. Then place carefully. Okay, so with that being done, we can now go over it with a piece of cloth, and you can also tighten by pulling it to ensure that it's firm. Okay, right, we have a firm cover now, and we can pick the adhesive again and apply over the edge. Yes, there always has to be an application of adhesive so that the part coming also meets something to connect with. Okay, so if there is no adhesive on both sides, the connection cannot be strong. So you just always have to add an extra touch, an extra layer, an extra this, an extra that to create a strong bond. Okay, I'm applying this now over it. So you see the concept I was explaining earlier, that now the acetate is in between the paper, and I think that's a good way of hiding it compared to putting it outside where it's not in between two papers. Okay, so we can now use the scissors or the piece of cloth, anyone that you wish to use, and scrub over it. I'm scrubbing with the scissors because it gives me a firmer, it makes it more firm rather when scrubbing, so that there are no chances of air bubbles coming inside the paper. Inside, and look, see, from the outside it looks like it's inside, and from the inside it looks like it's outside. So that's a beautiful creation there. So this is how to make the flip cover with ropes, and the next thing will be to add the base and then the partitions in it. So I would advise that you check the next video so that you can be able to follow up the lesson. Thank you for joining. I'll see you in the next video where I begin to add the base.